I'm Holly Atwell, Divisional Director at IQPC Exchange, and I'm joined by Mark Krebs, the Vice President of Global Sales, and Magari Jinkiri, the Vice President of Global Customer Success at Celebras. Mark, would you give us a short explanation of what you guys do?
Sure. So Celebras, we've been around for 26 years. We're publicly traded, work with the largest companies in the world, and yet no one's ever heard of us. We do digital data capture and solve for digital identity. And it's becoming increasingly difficult for companies to do that these days with global regulations and browser restrictions. So we solve a lot of problems that companies are facing these days.
Fantastic, thank you. What are some of the customer-centric challenges financial services companies face today, and how difficult is it to communicate that?
Yeah, it's probably the most consistent thing we hear from our clients and prospects, how hard it is to simply know who your customers are when they're interacting with you digitally. So if somebody comes to your site and doesn't log in and they come back a week or two later, most companies don't even know that the person was on their site again. And so it's really hard to provide a good personalization or good customer experience. More importantly, it's not great if you don't know your own customers when they come back to visit your site. So a lot of our banking and insurance companies, clients, they really want to know if somebody was on the site a couple weeks ago doing something, they're back again, but they were anonymous on this particular visit. They want to be able to provide them a good experience. I've heard this at actually several of these conferences that we attend with you guys. People call it, we live in an Amazon world. People want to have that experience of the brands that they work with, know everything about them, and give them a really good customer experience. So that's the biggest challenge I think most people in the financial services space are facing these days.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for sharing that insight. How big of an issue is fraud to your clients, and what are they asking you to help them solve?
So yeah, fraud, this is true across all industries. It is becoming a massive problem for everyone, in banking and in insurance in particular. If you don't, kind of what I was talking about before, if you don't know digital identity, if you don't know who it is that's coming to your site, it becomes incredibly difficult to know when it's not them. So for example, we have an element within our platform where we can track behavioral biometrics. So we can tell how fast somebody types, if they're a lefty or a righty, how hard they press on a trackpad, how big their thumb is on a phone. It's creepy, but it's good creepy, because it's protecting you, the company, and protecting your customers. So if I'm logging in every day and my bank knows I'm a righty and somebody's trying to log in and they're acting like a lefty, we can stop the transaction and prevent the money from being lost. We had one of our big global banks, and somebody shared this on LinkedIn, so we're allowed to talk about it. A woman wrote this long article about how her mom had just sold her house and she was planning on moving into a retirement community, and she fell victim to a scam. And scams are really hard to detect in digital because it's actually the person that's doing the inputting. They're just being coached by somebody else. So this woman was convinced that her account had been hacked and she needed to transfer her money to a safe account. It went through the entire process, and we could tell that she was, even though it was her, she was typing more hesitantly. Her mouse movements were way more jittery. She was hitting backspace more than she normally did. So got to the end of the transaction and we simply changed the button from transfer to request. And it went to a case management tool, solved the problem of having all the money leave her account. It saved her all of her money, which are cool stories. Those are the kind of cool things we like to do for our clients.
Yeah, very cool stories, and some really exciting technology there as well. Magari, what's the most satisfying challenge you have been able to solve for a client?
Well, it's satisfying. I'll talk about maybe a recent challenge we solved for one of our clients. So identity is massively important. Knowing your customer, who they are, and all the different interactions over time. And Mark talked about why that matters from a fraud perspective, why that also matters from a personalization perspective. But one of the things that becomes really important is whether I'm talking to healthcare companies, financial services, or retail, everyone is spending lots of money on paid media, digital ads, and they're trying to understand the effectiveness of those ads. And so one of the initial use cases that companies sort of typically try to solve for is really just a better understanding of attribution. So we've got a small bank who we recently started working with, and we implemented our platform, and about 2 to 3 weeks after we implemented the platform, they released a massive campaign. They spent $1.5 million on this campaign. And for them, one of the pain points they talk to us about in the sales process is they do spend a lot of money in marketing. They're a small group. They're trying to grow. They're trying to acquire more customers. And while they spend a lot of money, they don't have a really good way to understand whether it's working or not, right? And so the campaign they recently released, and if you're familiar with this, most people have received emails like this, which is an offer, create a new checking account and you get an offer for X amount of money. So they ran a test and there was, some, like 50% of the people received a $200 offer, 50% received a $300 offer. And they realized that the return on ad spend was equal no matter what that offer was. And so they realized in the future when they roll this out, they can just put out the $200 offer. They're going to get the same amount of ad spend, and there's going to be less money that they have to spend. And for them, they calculated that to be $500,000 initially. So.
That's super exciting. Well, McGarry, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today.